The year 2020 has been the craziest one I have seen so far. Whenever I would read news, there was always something crazy happening like riots, fires, wars, UFO confirmation, protests, crazy border disputes, and of course, the champion coronavirus. All of this was driving me crazy, so I had a crazy idea. Clearly, news was the problem and not the world, right? So I decided to deal with it the way I deal with all my problems, and that is by ignoring it. And I decided to ignore bad news in my own style. I decided to make a news application, but not just any news application, a happy news application. Now, guys, full disclosure, I am not a mobile application developer. I am more of a loser, but I know there are dozens of different ways of making a mobile application. There are what you call native mobile apps and cross-platform mobile apps. Native apps are the ones that are specific to that operating system like Android, iOS, and can be made by Android Studio, which makes use of Java programming language. I am not very good at Java, but then there's also Xstudio, which makes use of Swift programming language. I don't know Swift either. Then there are cross-platform mobile applications which can work in both operating systems. Here we have React Native, which makes use of JavaScript. And then there's Flutter, which makes use of Dart programming language. I decided to go with React Native and JavaScript because that's the only one I know. But instead of JavaScript, we'd be writing code in TypeScript, which is basically just JavaScript but with types. And it's amazing. JavaScript developers out there, guys, trust me and check out TypeScript. It's amazing. This was my first time developing a mobile application all by myself, so I had quite a lot of problems actually. Now guys, in the world of programming, the way you approach a problem is by breaking it down into smaller pieces till they make sense to you. You solve the smaller pieces one by one till you solve the whole thing. I figured out that there were three pieces of my mobile application. We need a user interface, we need a mechanism to get fresh news, then we also need a little bit of machine learning magic to figure out what is happy and what is sad from the news headline. After doing some research, I got started on developing the UI. I made a simple Hello World application first just to get familiar with the environment itself. I realized that it was almost similar to React.js, which we use for building web applications. To be honest, I did not like the idea of styled components very much. Although I understand that since we are working on mobile and not the browser, many web APIs have to be replaced with something. The simple Hello World application was done, and with the power of Google by my side, I was ready to change the world. Halfway through the development, it just occurred to me that a news app with only happy news doesn't sound really good. All the negative news would be such a waste of resource. I mean, people put efforts in doing crimes, am I right? So I decided that instead of showing only happy news, I would instead segregate all the news into happy, sad and neutral. I developed a very basic UI with happy, sad and neutral buttons, and guys, I get it, the UI looks horrible. It looks like the app is made by Chintu from Whitehead Jr., but bear with me, it's just a prototype, an experiment as you would say. So after designing a simple UI, we need a mechanism to get fresh news from the internet. This is where we use newsapi.org. It's an excellent news service. It provides all the latest news from different media outlets. You can filter news by countries and stuff as well. I liked it quite a lot because it reduced so much of my work. The way things work here is that you have to first sign up on their website to get an API key. Then you make an HTTP request on this URL, which should contain your API key, and in response, you will get all the latest news. But what's an HTTP request, I hear you ask? You see, there are servers running on the internet which are in charge of providing you with data. Then there's a client, for example, your cell phone. When your phone wants some data from the internet, it sends a request to the server. The server in turn checks if your request is valid, and then it picks up some data from the database and serves it to you. Easy peasy. The servers are sitting at an address, in our case newsapi.org, and we make a request on this URL to get some news. This is loosely how your internet works. So we are making a request to the News API server asking them for fresh news for our application, and look at this. our news app finally has some news, but we don't have any method to separate the happy from sad. That's why all the same news articles are shown in each three categories. Two of our problems are now solved and only one remains. And this is the easiest of them all. We are going to sprinkle some machine learning magic now, but don't worry, it just sounds difficult, but it's extremely easy. So we need to look at the headlines of the news articles and determine if it's happy, sad, or neutral. Lucky for us, this is a classic machine learning problem and it's known as sentiment analysis. There are a dozen different methods to copy paste from. We will be making use of something called VADR sentiment analysis from NLTK library. VADR, or Valence Aware Dictionary and Sentiment Analysis Reasoner. It's a sentiment analysis tool that is specifically used to find out how positive or negative a sentence is. It's specifically designed to work on the sentences picked up from social media, so it's gonna work like charm in our use case. Look, here I passed a happy little sentence and we can see the score. If the score is above 0, it basically means that the sentence is positive. Next, I will be passing a not so happy sentence and look at the scores. It fell below 0, indicating that it's a negative sentence. A sentence with compound score exactly equal to 0 means that the sentence is neutral. It's neither happy nor sad. To make things even easier, I found an npm package which can be installed as a third-party library, because I have not really gone very deep in the technical aspects of this project. However, if you want to see me build a sentiment analyzer from scratch, just leave a comment below. Now all I have to do is pass the news articles through this function and filter the news according to the compound score attained and the kind of news the user is looking forward to read. After this, our news application will be smart enough to tell what's happy and what's sad. There's still room for improvement, but I'll just leave it to that and mark all the bugs as features. Our last component of this project is finished. I added another screen to actually be able to read the news properly. This marks the end of the video. If you want to see me use my coding knowledge to make more dumb projects like this, leave a comment below. You can give me suggestions on what I should make, and I could really use some fresh ideas. Consider subscribing to my channel. Take care and goodbye.